All right, welcome to the Sae Bae cast number 178 with SaintTits. SaintTits.
Hello, everyone listening to the Sae Bae cast right now. I hope that you looking at the title and seeing my name didn't deter you from clicking this video.
It clearly didn't
Because
because they're listening to it right now.
yeah, I mean, when you're given a name and it just sticks, like you have to live with the consequences sometimes, So I hope everyone's having a good day, a good night, a good afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. I'm very happy to be here. I'm a very big fan of Sae Bae and the Sae Bae cast. I think it's fantastic for the community and what it does, and it brings up all the dialogue and the conversation with a multitude of different people. People directly related to the scene, behind the scenes, making the scenes. It's a good place to be. Happy to be here.
I appreciate it, man. No, so we've met in person 3 times now. Last year in Tennessee, then in Las Vegas for TwitchCon last October, and then just a couple weeks ago in Orlando, Florida.
Yes, we've seen each other 3 times now, and it's like I've always enjoyed seeing you. In fact, I picked you up. The first time meeting you was picking you up at the airport with Nine Rain.
Yep.
Yeah. And I had the fake Southern accent the entire time to make Nine Rain think I was Southern. And then when we finally got to the Airbnb, I dropped it. Dude. And I don't think he was a big fan of the bit, honestly.
You know what's so funny is like I didn't fucking notice. Like I didn't even notice because I don't know. Maybe I'm just too like self-absorbed and I'm thinking of so many other things. The last thing on my mind is like just like hyper analyzing how you're speaking or anything. So when you dropped it, when you're just like, dude, do I sound any different? I'm like, nah, like sound just like I imagined. But yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun bit. I'm a very big fan of voices. I love to do the Southern accent. Just going down to church and going to Golden Corral and picking up my sister for our third date. Is where I was born and raised. Where my mama taught me good. I like to do voices, and this is one of the voices I can do real well, man. And no one bats an eye when you see a big fella like me talking like this. No one questions it,
Nobody batted an eye. Actually.
No one bats an eye, man. They just go right along with it. Like I was born and raised in the South, but like I just don't have a Southern accent. I have to be around Southern people for like you to really hear the dialect that I have, because it's pretty normal. I wouldn't say that I have like I guess like a typical American accent. But if I get around Southern people, it really comes out of me. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I was living in Alabama for like 4 years, like 6 months after Sugar. I mean, I never went outside, so just keep that in mind. So I didn't pick up anything. I mean, I'm from Oregon, but my older brother started working, obviously. I mean, that's the reason I moved to Alabama, because I was living with my brother and he got a job there. And I started hearing just little things that he'd come home and start saying y'all and start saying all this other like just like
it creeps into you.
It does.
It really does creep into you, and a lot of it's like religious, like the Southern Baptists. That's really where you get the fire and the brimstone and the Lord Jesus coming down and the saving you, and then like you get the real Southern belle talking soft like this, like how to do, Mister? How's your day going? Or you just like the complete trailer park redneck is like, I'm coming down here and I'm gonna cook up this meth in my trailer. It's like there's so many different routes and avenues that can like creep into your diction.
Yeah. No, I definitely heard. So whenever I'd go to the grocery store or anywhere else, I'd hear it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I live in Alabama. This is weird. Like everyone talks like this, and I go back to my computer, just all right, back to reality.
Where there's not a Southern soul in sight.
Yeah, seriously. But okay, let me ask you this, because this was something that bothered me so much. There was so my brother came home one day from work, and he's like, "Have you ever heard anybody say chunk for Chuck? Like using the word chunk for like you chunked a piece of paper in the trash instead of you chucked a piece of paper in the trash?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Yeah, every single person here says chunk, like you chunked it away." And so I'm like, what the fuck? That's not right. And that's like a typical thing, apparently. Like people just say chunk for that. And then all of a sudden we're driving somewhere and I see this billboard and it's like I don't know, some clean up like your files on your computer sort of billboard advertisement. And it says like, are you ready to chunk out your files? And I couldn't believe my eyes. Like I actually saw a billboard with them using the word chunk. Is that normal? Did you ever hear that growing up?
I want to say that like, yeah, that is just like a euphemism that's been wrong. It's the CHUNK, right?
Yeah,
Chunk.
yeah.
Instead of CHUCKED, chucked away.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say that, yeah, that is true. Like, I didn't grow up in a very southern part of Georgia. I'm about an hour north of Atlanta, where I grew up, born and raised, Hall County. It's pretty southern, but it's not too southern. But I have some really southern, like, family members that I don't even know where they're from. Like, but they're very southern, and I would say that they're probably using chunk instead of chucked away. So yeah, I want to say that's true.
Just thought it was
More
funny.
than likely. Yeah.
I guess every place has their random like words that are switched around and you just kind of get used to it.
I mean, the English language, like to what it is now, like spread across the entire United States and in between any European country that speaks English, it's such a bastardization of like what it was. I would definitely say. I mean, the whole reason why we have the Southern accent that we do today is because it was what was it, the British accent that stayed down there from the 13 colonies, and it just developed into this more rich and very not what's the word I'm looking for here, this very rich and charismatic way of talking. Like you didn't really care about the facts. Like they down in the South, they don't care about what's true or not, but if it sounds good to them, they'll just say it. Right? So like you have this very smooth way of talking and not using the correct letters and just skipping over things, It's real smooth, like it's like butter just melting in your mouth.
Oh my God. Okay, let me ask you this though, because we've both met B0aty. Do you struggle to understand B0aty when he pulls you aside, and just starts
Absolutely. I just feel like a dog when he's talking to me. Like I'm just like when I took my picture with him at Bacan, I believe it was Bacan, the restaurant, and I asked someone to take the picture for me, and I'm like standing up straight, and he just like grabs me by my shoulder and like forcefully pulls me down to his level for the picture. And he just starts whispering in my ear, and I'm just looking at him smiling and just nodding my head, and I have no idea what he's saying.
Dude, it's just so bad because like okay, first let me just kind of take a step back. I really respect people that will straight up keep asking what until, like, for example, it's happened to me a few times where I'm not speaking clear enough to somebody and they will keep asking me what? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. And they'll do it like 3 times. They'll just they won't pretend like they heard me. And I really respect that in someone where they can just, but for me, it's, if I don't believe that I'm going to be able to understand this in 3 or 4 attempts, like I'm not going to risk it. So I'm just going to start smiling and nodding. But with Adam, it's just a lot of the time. Sometimes he'll ask me something or he'll say something, and it takes a few seconds to kind of like rewind everything. Like I'm kind of like rewinding what he just said to like, because I don't fully understand what he says, and then I'm like rewinding it in my mind, and I'm like, okay, if I just nod and wave right, or like nod and just then hopefully in the next few seconds I'll be able to like decipher exactly what he said through like context clues or something, or just if he says anything else at that point. But there was a few times where I'm like, okay, I didn't get any of this, and I'm just, at this point, it's too loud in the room. I'm not even going to ask again. And so I just nod. And then he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I really hope he didn't ask me something important because I just said yes.
Dude, as I've been getting older, I've been getting really bad at that, to where if I don't understand what someone says, I just shake my head and go, yeah. And a lot of the times when I've done that, it's someone being like, what are you talking about? I just asked you a question. And then I have to embarrassingly being like, oh, I'm sorry. What'd you say then? And then I hear that they asked me a question that is like a very specific answer, and I just look this person in the eyes and nodded my head and went, yeah, like they're crazy, or I'm the crazy one. But like,
Oh my God.
When it's B0aty, man, I'm so intimidated. He has
I
such an
know.
aura.
I know.
If there's any nerds out there that watch anime, like you're probably familiar with the term of spiritual pressure from the show Bleach. His spiritual pressure is off the fucking charts, man. It's ridiculous. Like you
I mean,
can't.
most of us have been watching him for years, if not a decade plus.
I was watching him when I was 13, man, in high school. I've been watching B0aty since
Jesus.
high school. I've been a part of like not as an a part, but as I've been a viewer of RuneScape related content since early high school, freshman year, sophomore year high school,
Yeah.
and most of my IRL friends have as well. So when I first got to meet B0aty in San Diego TwitchCon, I think it was 2020 or 2021. I can't remember if it was like I think it was during COVID,
I
like
think
during
wasn't that 2022 or wait, are you talking about the one?
San Diego TwitchCon. It's when Base had that nice Airbnb.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was 2022 because I'm pretty
Okay,
sure that was the
2022.
yeah.
Yeah,
I wasn't
2022
there for it, but
TwitchCon.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it was a really nice time, and I got to meet B0aty for the first time, and just being able to go tell all my friends that I met B0aty, and then be like, "No, you didn't," and then I'd send them a picture of him at the party that we're at, and it's like just seeing their reactions to it. It was really surreal, like he's a legend, in in my friend group. Everyone knows who B0aty is. If you mention the word 73 or the number 73, we all know what you're talking about. If you say yes lad, everyone knows who the fuck you're impersonating. Like
Yeah.
he is the RuneScape goat, like for content creation, and there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. I will say though, for those maybe wondering, there is not a mean bone in B0aty's body. Like
No.
if you were to just be that person that's going to keep asking what 5 or 6 times until you finally get it, he wouldn't care. He would be totally cool. He would just keep repeating himself until you get it. Like he's not going to be like frustrated on it. I don't think I saw Adam once frustrated out of any time I've seen him in real life.
He's so down to earth. It's surreal. I'll never forget. At the end of the Vegas party, and like I was outside doing security. We had a list. We let everybody in. I go and I do the party, and it's probably like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. That party's finally winding down. There's not that many people left, and like a spot on the couch is opened up, and I'm like, yes, I'm claiming this. I have a blanket right here. I put the blanket on. I lay down, and I put my hat over my face, and I'm sitting there laying like a vampire, just trying to go to sleep on this couch, laying on my back, and then all of a sudden, I feel someone lift my hat off my face, and it's B0aty, and he's like, you okay? You doing all right? And I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, yeah, everything's good. And he's like, that's a good lad. And he puts the hat back over my face and just walks off. And I'm just sitting there in complete darkness now. My hat's over my face again, and I'm like, I just got called a good lad by B0aty. That's pretty fucking cool.
Oh my God, that's awesome. It's so fun having B0aty and Jesse at our events. Like that's
Yeah.
it's just like a sweet like cherry on top of that because we have a bunch of Americans there, and then we get like a little bit of flavor. So
Yeah, we have these two British people that
yeah,
just come over here, and they're very down to earth, and they're very fun, and they just want to have a good time. They want everyone to have a good time.
yeah,
It's definitely great for the group.
yeah.
100%.
It is. So let's talk a little bit about Orlando because that's fresh on our minds. Obviously, we just got back. It was a like 7 full days basically of being
Yeah,
there,
a full week.
which is wild.
I would say 6 days because with checkout time being like 10 a.m.
That's true.
and everyone leaving like before then. Some people were leaving at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. 6 full days, but I would still say that's almost 3 days too many.
Dude, the crazy thing is so I have like a very just small social battery, and when I imagine going somewhere because I was there from Tuesday to Tuesday, so technically 8 like actual individual days there, and I'm like, dude, me imagining the trip before I'm even there, I'm getting knots in my stomach because I'm so used to having my privacy, my downtime, just I can be alone. I don't have to be around people. And so just imagining, okay, now I'm here for a straight week. I don't even know who I'm rooming with. Like, I don't know like what's going on really. It's a
Yeah.
lot. But every single trip out of the 3, and they've all been about a week, they've flown by for me. It feels like I'm there for like a day. It's crazy.
Yeah, we always plan these trips out, and it feels like forever to get to them, right? Like it feels like when you plan out a trip 6 months in the future, you that entire 6 months, you're just like replaying scenarios in your head of what you think is going to happen. You're building expectation. You're getting everything set up. You're inviting all these people, and then the Discord gets made, and everyone's getting excited in the Discord. And then like you're a week out, and it's like holy fuck! It's felt like forever just to even get to this point. And then you're in your car on the way to the airport. You're in the TSA line. You're getting on the plane. You get to where you're going. You're meeting everybody. It's the first night. You wake up, and now you're going back to the airport again. It's like what the fuck just happened?
know.
It's like where did these 7 days gone? I've done a lot of shitty things in my life, like working construction, and I've worked construction 7 days in a row before, a full Monday through Monday, because we had a job that we had to get done, and that entire week felt like a decade. It felt so long. It was terrible. I wanted to die. And then we go on this awesome trip, and it feels like it lasted for 24 hours.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's unreal.
It's so cool though, because it's just like everybody there, and I've told this, like I've after I get home, my sister and my brother-in-law, they're always really excited to hear back from like, you know, how the trip was and stuff, because they watch my stream. They're away. In fact, I remember raiding Hamzy after one of my streams, and my sister and my brother-in-law are just watching my stream, and they get sent over to Hamzy's stream, and you know, Hamzy just has the most immaculate vibes ever. He's just such a kind-hearted dude. He's just chill as hell. And they come in there, and they are just like, you know, so this is several months back, and like the next day they're like, who was that guy you raided? He is so cool. I'm like, yeah, that's Hamzy. And I'm like, yeah, I've got to meet him a couple times, and of course I meet him again. He's like, and so they're all like, oh, how's Hamzy? Like, how's Hamzy doing and stuff? And so they know kind of the people I'm hanging out with, and I show them pictures and stuff. So they're always super, super excited to see like how the trip was. And it's just like, and I have to tell them, because they are, you know, they got married young, and they don't really have like friend groups right now, because, you know, they just they left college, and that's kind of it. And now, like, how are you supposed to make friends? That, you know, they have a kid, and just they've moved around a lot. And they remember their friend groups having like drama, and there's, you know, there's like a few people if you're at a party or something that you don't really like. And I'm telling them, like, it is not that case at all. I go there and everybody's a vibe. Like, everybody's cool as shit. There's no like problems going on. Everyone's just vibing, and it's just an amazing experience, and they are just so jealous of that. They're like, man, I fucking wish I could just have a vacation with a bunch of friends. And I also tell them, none of the people there have kids. Like, no, we don't have kids. So we're all just like, we're just that's probably going to change in the next several years. We'll see about that if we keep doing these events. But I'm just thinking, like, dude, we got it good right now. We're in the golden age of just vibing and partying and having a great time. So
yeah, and it's crazy, because growing up, I was told like that was going to be college for me. They were like, from 18 to like 24, it's like those are going to be your party years, and it's like that just turned out not to be the case for me. I didn't party that much in college. I went to a party on occasion and whatnot, but since leaving college and like getting tied into the old school RuneScape community and becoming an editor and knowing people and making connections and having an opportunity to be with such an awesome group of people, I have never partied harder. And it is so weird that a bunch of RuneScape nerds brought me to this pinnacle of partying that we do sometimes. Dude. You never would think that a dude that would sit there and 3-tick granite for 3 hours is going to throw an awesome party. You just would not think.
And you guys have thrown, and I'm even at the only parties I went to, like a few real parties in high school, but I grew up Mormon. So, you know, just kind of being surrounded by Mormons, I never really had that like college party experience or anything. So it took till my late 20s to finally experience just real fun partying with amazing people, and it's great. But yeah, it is funny because we're all getting older, so like just partying hard just definitely doesn't, it wears on the body a little bit more.
Oh
The
yeah,
next mornings we're all just so groggy and just fucked
dude.
up.
It took me 3 days to get back to normal. Getting back from this trip, it took me 3 days, like full days, to feel normal again.
Oh my
It was
god.
because
Dude,
in like, go
yeah.
for it. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, well, I want to ask you one, how you got involved in Based, and also just saying like, and I've said this so many times on previous casts where we talk about Based, like just
Mm-hmm.
the fact that there are events organized at all is just so amazing, and it beyond Based too, because in Las Vegas we had like 90 or 100 people over at the Based Airbnb that were all old school creators or involved in the community in some way. And that was the most amazing. That was way, way better than the event itself, TwitchCon. And that was
Yeah.
like the best night there. And it was only possible because you guys are actually organizing events and getting everybody together, which would not have happened if it wasn't for that, for
Well,
Based.
I really got to give a shout out to Prison Joe. I mean, Prison Joe is 80% of the driving force, I'd say, to getting all this shit done and the planning and idea wise. And then we just utilize other people in Based. Everyone has like their own set of skills and, different things they can help do, a bunch of different connections. Tasty knows a lot of people, T Papa knows a lot of people, etc. And we can just like we can bring 100 to 150 people together in one area and have a kick-ass time. It was it, it was act it was it, that had to have been like top 1% of all of RuneScape content creation in a single square mile area, surely, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely,
Between
it was. Okay, so I've never been to a Rune Fest before, but
mhm,
yeah, I mean, if you're thinking of Twitch, especially, there's definitely a
mhm,
lot of YouTubers there as well. But like the Twitch scene, I mean, you got everybody there. It feels like
yeah.
so. I
No,
mean,
yeah, we had
I guess there are a few key figures missing, but I've never met Curtis. I've never met Mr. Mammal in person. Never met Foe. Never met B0aty.
mhm,
Actually, I met B0aty just in Orlando, but just briefly.
yeah.
But they weren't at like TwitchCon or anything. So if they all were to come, then it would truly be like just everybody is there that's in the Twitch scene. But yeah, YouTubers as well. But I wonder, in comparison to like old Rune Fests, how like what the ratio is of
I
creators.
feel like if there had been anything crazy, surely there would have been a video of it or there would have been pictures of it. Because I remember seeing it was either a TwitchCon or it was a RuneFest meetup a long time ago. It was when B0aty had like the purple hair arc, like the
Hmm.
purple short hair, and Austin Show was there, and I want to say Ice Poseidon was there, and like a bunch of other people were there. Like there was like 12 people in like one hotel room, and it was like a short little video stream. And I can't remember for the life of me if it was RuneFest or if it was TwitchCon, but like you just don't see stuff like that, and we're the only ones putting that kind of stuff on. Oh, and then shout out Crusader too. They kind of did a similar thing in Vegas
Hmm.
alongside our party that we did. But
Yep.
yeah, it's just it's surreal, and like how I ended up even being associated with Based is because I know Prison Joe personally. We played football together in college. Um, I'm just gonna go out and say I'm the one that got him into streaming. I can pinpoint the exact moment of like when Prison Joe got interested in streaming, and it was when I came over to his house one day for a Thanksgiving break, and I streamed. We were doing bandos together, and we made bandos a drinking game. For every rune item we got, we'd have to sip our drink, and if we got a piece of bandos, we had to take like 2 shots or whatever. And like that was like the origin of Prison Joe. And I just I'll never forget after that telling him being like, you need to get into streaming. You would be good at it. And I've been there from the moment he started streaming. I was one of the first people there, and I've not left. I'm a moderator and I'm an editor for his YouTube. And
Yeah.
I want to say sometime about 3 years ago he meets up with Elisa and all of them, and then all of a sudden, Base gets formed. They a couple more people get added, and Base gets formed.
What was the inspiration behind any of that? Was it just they wanted to?
Uh, I wasn't there from the beginning. I've been here for a long time, but I was not there for the beginning when Base was formed. So I can't give you the full story. I can give you the story from like when I came in. Um, I know that they had to get rid of a certain someone. Shout out the Bathrobe Bandit. He had to get gone, kaputs. And then Q Neeks became the editor for the Based After Dark podcast. And then all of a sudden, Q Neeks couldn't do it anymore. And then that's when Prison Joe hit me up. And I just started off editing the podcast for them. And eventually, now I've been doing it for over a year and a half now. I'm a producer of the podcast. I edit the podcast. I run the Patreon podcast. I run the entire Patreon. I run the Twitter. I run the YouTube. And I'm 100% a part of everything we do now. And it's crazy just, from one opportunity.
That is so cool, and it's crazy how much it's grown. Just the podcast itself. I mean, you have an actual cult following. Just hearing of how much growth you guys have gotten just from. I'm trying to even think. I don't know if it was at the start of season 2, Based After Dark, or before that. Shortly before that, where you guys started the Patreon exclusives, but. Yeah, it's exploded, and what's amazing about it is it actually pays for those events now. Part of it,
yes.
The Airbnbs and stuff. So,
yep, it cool. Helped paid for the Airbnb. It fully paid for the Airbnb, and then it helped paid for groceries and any other small end of things that we needed while we were down there. So, it's really cool. I'm gonna shout out the Patreon, Based After Dark Patreon. We have a Patreon only podcast every week. Consistently, we've had one every week for the past 49 weeks, and it's going to stay that way for the next 100 weeks. Someone has to die for me to not upload, or something majorly bad fucks up. But we will do a YouTube podcast every week and a Patreon podcast every week, and we are now at 253 paid patrons. That's the highest we've been at, and it's awesome.
That is wild. And how do you personally, because I'm pretty sure, so Based After Dark obviously has evolved over time, and it was mildly centered around RuneScape a little bit toward the beginning, because obviously everybody on there was a RuneScape content creator, and then there came a transition where the team sort of decided we are probably not going to be inviting just RuneScape creators on here to talk about them, because in their own words, I don't know whose exact words, but one of the hosts was just saying, like, we get a guest on and there's like 5 hosts and we're all like just talking shit and stuff, and the guest sometimes just sits there in silence. And
yeah, and like it's kind of funny because it became kind of meme-worthy, because like we had people on like Kajino. Kajino would come on when he did the podcast, and I think he had maybe 5 words the entire 3-hour podcast and that we were doing. We were doing 2.5, 3-hour podcast, and some guests wouldn't talk. Like it would just be us talking, and then like shout out to Zoe. Zoe would be like the major player for this, but we'd all be talking, and I would see Zoe like realize that we're not interacting with the guest at all, and then Zoe would immediately start interacting with the guest. Like this was toward the end of the first season. So yeah, it was just awkward. We've had a lot of good podcasts with guests on, especially people that we fuck with and fuck with us, and they get the vibe, and they're in the same similar field, such as yourself. Like when you came on for the first time, and the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, and all the other times. It's always good. Getting Nine Rain on the cast and having him be in the backup queue, even though I think he's missing now. I've not seen him in 2 months. But yeah, he's on a milk carton somewhere, man. That's all I know. He's on the milk carton somewhere. But it was just awkward. It was really awkward to have a RuneScape guest on, and no one wanted to talk about RuneScape that day. When you have a bunch of streamers that stream 6 to 7 hours a day, RuneScape, sometimes they don't want to talk about RuneScape, and it's just it's not a good product. It's awkward. We were having to edit a lot of things out. It just wasn't good. And what Seth and I had been talking about was that looking at the analytics and how the episodes were doing, depending on the guest, we were getting about 13 to 1400 views on YouTube and 800 views on Spotify at the time per episode. And then like obviously when you have certain guests on, it pops off more than others. But I told Seth, I was like, I think there's like a good 800 to 900 people that would show up every week, regardless if we had a guest or not. And like not show up for RuneScape. They want to hear about Hamzy getting his ass eaten. They want to hear about Tasty having a terrible experience with a girl from Hens. They want to hear T Papa taking shrooms and going fucking and having a psychotic break. Like they want to hear the crazy fucked up stories from their RuneScape streamers. They don't want to hear about RuneScape. They just want to hear fun, crazy, interactive stories from people that they fuck with.
Yeah.
And then that's when we decided to transition into season 2 and take a chance. And that is when I also upped the production value. Of the old way was just to record a Discord screen and throw it into Adobe Premiere and then just like make your edits and then boom, that's the podcast. Well, you don't get the best production value. So since season 2 changed, I've had all of them start recording individually, like you would like in a studio, and then I put everything together. I sync everything up. I lay out the scene of the podcast in Adobe Premiere afterwards. So there's a lot more to it now than there was, and it's only made the production better. So
it is a lot cleaner. And for those listening that maybe don't know what season 2 brought, basically it was just the whole decision was to now just focus on the hosts themselves. I mean that the conversation, like you said, like just focusing on non-RuneScape. Don't focus too much on bringing guests. Guests still come on here and there, the ones that you fuck with, and it's just much more of a vibe. And it sounds like all of the regulars on the podcast deeply enjoy it more now because they can actually just relax and they don't have to feel this pressure of having a guest on that's maybe not feeling super comfortable.
Yeah, so. It really, I think it's helped like centralize our audience, and obviously people that support the Patreon, they directly influence the podcast with topics that they leave. So that's also a really nice thing that I believe we've done. But I want to say now we have, between YouTube and Spotify, we have 2,500 weekly listeners on average. And like I said earlier, that's 253 patrons right now, paid patrons for the Patreon only podcast. So I'm very happy with where the podcast is.
That's cool. How big of an effect do you think Behemoth has had since the base takeover of the Behemoth highlights channel? Have you seen any growth, like just actual growth?
I mean, I don't know if it's consistent. It could just be static growth, but in terms of like long term, like we're gonna have to see like another year. I would say it's hard to tell. Don't get me wrong. I can tell a difference in the views of a podcast if it's shouted out on Behemoth. Yeah, it's going to get more views. But in terms of watch time, I don't think it. I think it's people coming on and they listen to it for a little bit and then they just go on about their day. But I'm sure there's some fans out there that have come from Behemoth. Totally. There's totally new fans that have probably come from Behemoth.
I really wonder because, you have the Behemoth commenters. I mean, Asterix talks about them and, just how weird some of the commenters are there. And when a Based After Dark episode is shouted out, I can only imagine those same commenters just jumping over, just chronically online, just ready to shitpost some comment.
That doesn't happen.
Really?
That does not happen. Because the people dumb enough to leave bad comments on a YouTube video don't know how to work the description. They don't. I promise you, that's always been the case for YouTube. Like they have to be really motivated to go hate you. They have to be really motivated to go click the description, click that link, and leave that comment on that video. They have to be really motivated to do that. Most of them are lazy, sad adult children that hate their lives. So most of the time, they don't do that, thankfully.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's and I've enjoyed it. I mean, I'm always one of those people. I mean, I started podcasting like 3.5 years ago at this point, inspired by other old school podcasts and just ramblers in general. And I've really enjoyed Base After Dark being a consistent product because, there have been, I mean, there's actually there's like a couple handfuls of OSRS podcasts that are pretty regular, but I don't feel like they get the same exposure, or maybe it's just they're not really involved in my circle. I wouldn't say I necessarily have a circle, but it's just the people that I'm following. Because if you go on, for example, Spotify, I don't know if you've ever clicked like the Base After Dark Spotify thing and then clicked on More Like This and seen what other people
I've not.
What's funny is, you click on Sae Bae Cast and it goes to More Like This, and you'll see Base After Dark a few things down. But if I click on Base After Dark and I go to More Like This, Sae Bae Cast ain't on there. I'm like, what the fuck? This is
Interesting.
A scam. This is a scam. No, but
that is a scam, bro. We need to change that, and we fucking I want to shell out for my boy Sater over here on Spotify. Come on, Spotify.
Yeah. But I think Sae Bae Rambles might have. No. I think Sae Bae Rambles is its own podcast now too on Spotify, because I decided to start uploading those all. But no, I've discovered a few OSR's podcasts that are pretty good. I mean, Guthick's Rest is one that I like shouting out. They actually had me on. What was really funny about Guthick's Rest was, it's hosted by two guys and they just talk about RuneScape. And I was browsing the Sae Bae cast on Spotify, just making sure everything looked clean. Went to More Like This, saw Guthick's Rest, clicked on it, and I clicked on a random episode. And I just scrolled halfway through it just to kind of get the vibe. And the first word I hear is Sae Bae. Like, just scrolling through, and I just hear my name, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck? I rewinded a little bit, listened to it, and this is back last year when we were talking about like the Scar Essence mine. I don't know if you knew any of that, but basically,
no.
they're all talking about that. They're talking about my like opinion on it, and then a minute later into it, they're like, man, like if somehow the universe has basically, summoned Sae Bae to listen to this part, which there's no way he's listening to this right now. Like, I'd love to have him on so we could talk about this. And I'm actually listening to that part right then. And so I tweet them. I tweet the Guthick's Rest, and I'm like, hey, just listen to your podcast. I heard that you might want to chat, so I'm down to come on the podcast. And like, what the fuck?
It's so crazy how just the universe works like that sometimes.
Yeah, no, just scrolling into something and you just see it.
Just by chance, just by random chance, you clicked on that one. You clicked on the like of your podcast. You saw the Gothic Rex podcast. You clicked on one of their podcast links, and then you clicked somewhere down to the podcast, and it's them talking about wanting you to come on. Like the odds of that happening are probably astronomical.
It's crazy. So I go on their podcast. It was a great time, and then I'm like, and they do regular podcasts, and then there's several others. I mean, the ones I really miss, I remember like, Real Homie Hour was going pretty strong for a while. That one ended.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately.
OSRS podcasts, which is Mint, Mad Cow, Rakesy, and Rice Cup. Back in the day, I'd listen to theirs a lot, but that's kind of here and there, it seems like. And then trying to think. Oh yeah, and then Bank Standing with Jimmy and Nine Rain. They had their own thing going, and that kind of.
I remember when an episode of that came out, and I was like, "All right, Nine Rain." It's like, I guess he doesn't want to do our podcast anymore. He wants to do that. But then seeing how often, very little, he comes on our podcast, I know he ain't showing up for that. So I wasn't worried anymore. But.
Yeah.
But Bank Standing is a good podcast. I really enjoyed listening to Jimmy and Nine Rain grift with each other. It's actually really entertaining.
It is. Jimmy's a natural entertainer too.
Yeah. If I was Nine Rain, I wouldn't do Base After Dark. I would just be sending Bank Standing. I don't know what he's thinking about, but hey, get your money how you live life, man. Get it how you live.
Oh my God. No, and then there's been the other. I believe even. Who was it? I know it was Settled, Framed, and I want to say Jimmy might have been on it, but maybe it was somebody else. But they had done like some trio podcasts. I remember talking to Settled about it. Like they were doing their own little podcasts here and there where they're just talking shit. And I want more of that. So I'm really proud. I'm happy to, get a weekly upload from Base After Dark at least. There's not much RuneScape talk, which is completely fine with me. I'm just inundated by it every goddamn day. So it's refreshing. But I still like listening to the people that are in my scene, and I wish there was more of it. I wish there was more just commentary stuff. I want to hear people talk about RuneScape. I want to hear content creators just talking shit, basically. If we could get more of that, that'd be great. So I'm happy
Yeah,
you guys are continuing it pretty strong.
I want to say, I was into podcasting way before, COVID like made it popular. When the pandemic hit and people were inside, man, podcasts just flew off the rail. Like anyone and everybody had a podcast, and it so many of those podcasts have not survived. They're inactive. No one does them anymore. So like to be one of the people that still have a podcast and it's still going on and still making momentum and still making strides. Like it feels very good. It's validating in a way. But I would say the main reason that this podcast is alive is because the people who do the podcast fucking care about it and they like to do it.
Yeah.
And thankfully I make the process easy for them to where all they have to do is show up on a Wednesday and talk shit for 3 hours, and I make sure that motherfucker gets uploaded.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's the way to do it. Keep it.
Absolutely, and I love it. I love to do this. Coming from a background where I was working a job that I fucking hated, and now that I can kind of do this somewhat full time and it pay my bills,
And
it's really surreal, and I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for the opportunity for it because a lot of people don't get stuff to do like this, and it kind of just fell in my lap.
yeah, that it is good to especially be like aware of how I mean, because I have to constantly remind myself how lucky I am as well to be in the content creation sphere, because I remember working those 12-hour shifts, loading boxes onto a conveyor belt. Like, dear God, that is not the life I wanted to live.
No, and yeah, working any job, any corporate job, like no matter what you do, I would say is fucking torture to your soul.
It's soul crushing. I was gonna ask something. I already spaced it. Oh yeah, so you edit for Based After Dark, and you edit for Prison Joe's ToB Tuesday, which I would honestly consider another form of podcast. It's like an interview show.
Not only do I do his ToB Tuesdays, I've also done other videos on there as well. He did have a previous editor that was doing other stuff, but we've since not used him anymore, so I'm pretty much the full-time editor for Prison Joe right now.
Do you have any others that you edit for?
No, I've done a video for T-Papa. I've done a video for Sasha Spitz, but all my time right now is in Based After Dark and Prison Joe.
Nice.
In terms of editing. So.
And where did you like? So is this all like self-taught stuff? Did you go to school for any of this, like editing?
I did not go to school for any of this. My degree in college was business administration. I was learning Excel. But it stems from being a viewer of RuneScape content back in high school. I would watch SparkMac Live and Chris Archie Prods and Bonesaw Bamf and obviously B0aty, Skill Specs. Every PK montage that came out, I was fucking watching it. What I would do is I would go on private servers and PK on there because I didn't have the money or the stats to PK on actual RuneScape. So I just went on private servers to PK, and then I would make RuneScape private server PK montages. And then eventually EOC comes out, and RuneScape's just fucking devastated, right? It gets hit hard. And then the petitions come out. I'm pretty sure Bonesaw Bamf was like the main person to push it. I want to say there was someone else, but I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. I'm blanking on your name. But they pushed for the release of Old School to come out, and Jagex was like, well, we did find an old server. All right, we'll set up a petition. If it gets to this amount of petitions, we'll release it. And obviously it does. It gets released. And I would make videos of that when it first came out. And that's basically, I stopped. And I want to say when I got to college, I just stopped completely doing any type of video editing besides making memes for my friends. But yeah, everything has been self-taught.
Now, do you watch other OSRS content or get inspiration from other? And also, do you ever get I don't know, a little bit I don't know how to say it. Like, do you ever aspire for like editing skills that you see in the scene as well?
I was an internet baby. I grew up on Newgrounds. I grew up on YouTube. I'm a very big fan of comedy, of edgy comedy, of interview comedy. And I wouldn't say there's not been any specific person that's inspired me. Editing wise, I want to say Guns Chili is a big inspiration just for like this sheer amount of like the level of like of stuff you could attain with RuneScape editing. Like he's just pushed boundaries. And it's absolutely crazy. But I really just want to say, like, if anything has ever inspired me in terms of creatively, I want to say is like I try to go back to those Newground days of watching Psychic Pebbles, of Spas Kid, of ODNG, and try to like harness just the fun randomness, the fun random comedy, and obviously in between two ferns and the Eric Andre show and Sunday Conversation. I'm a big fan of those as well, and that directly is what I'm essentially trying to shove a multitude of different interview shows into a RuneScape show into a podcast, if that makes sense.
And this is for Top Tuesday.
Yeah, this is for Top Tuesday, yes. Which shout out Top Tuesday. There will be a new Top Tuesday coming out next Tuesday with Brett Dog.
Oh shit! Oh,
So that will
yeah.
next Tuesday it will be out on the. Let me look at my calendar here. On the 18th, Top Tuesday, Brett Dog will be out.
Can you give us a little synopsis of just Top Tuesday for those that have no idea what we're even talking about?
Top Tuesday is two people doing Tob, and Prison Joe is the host, and he yells at you.
And who has he like had on? Because it is just it's a one-on-one comedic sort of conversation that's awkward as shit. Sometimes.
We've had people, we've had skill specs on, we've had solo mission on, we've had Tasty on, we've had you on, we have Nine Rain on, we had a Radish Boy on, like a Mick Homie on, Ignoble Solid, a lot of people from Based, a lot of high end people. A lot of people that are fans. Hannah came on our fucking show. I don't know why Hannah would fucking go on Top Tuesday, but when she did, that was fucking awesome. I don't know why. When he told me he got that, I was like, I don't know how the fuck you did that, but cool.
No, it's wild when you invite people. Like they're most of the time they'll say yes. Like they're down.
Well, no, that's not the case. There's a lot of people that we've wanted on and have said no.
They said no. They didn't just ghost. Like, because the ghosting happens sometimes. But just to say,
okay, yeah, the ghosting happens. But I like to take that as a no.
Well, it is a no, but like,
yeah. But we've been ghosted a lot. We've people playing phone tag of being like, yeah, I'll do it, and then not responding for months and be like, oh yeah, we'll do it, but. We do have a lot of big guests planned. I'm not going to say much, Autoblock, but a lot of people could come on. Could come on.
So there has been some growth as well, like some big episodes that have popped off. I remember, I mean, in Orlando, we were watching the Top Tuesday with Alfie, and by the way, let me just say for those listening to this right now. Go check that episode out. You probably, if you're listening to the Sae Bae cast, you're around the OSR scene, you obviously know who Alfie is. That episode is so cringeworthy. It's like if you enjoy watching stuff that just makes you cringe and just makes you like tense up, that is the perfect content. It is so awkward at some points, and it is amazing. Like it is actually just like pure content. It is pure content, and that one, what does it have now? Because I'm pretty sure at the time it had like 30K views, which is wild.
It's at 38,000 now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
is that the top one?
That's our biggest episode. Yeah, that's our biggest Top Tuesday episode, which I did not expect at all because when that came out was the first day of Based Orlando. It was like the first official day, and I had completely I was so worried about getting everything to Orlando and getting shit set up and just getting there and getting all the stuff there. I had completely forgot about the episode coming out, and all of a sudden Seth just sends me a text message because I think they were out somewhere, and he's like, it has 8,000 views already in the first 2 hours, and I was like, what the fuck? And obviously we pulled it up on the TV, but it's wild in retrospect because I watch through every Top Tuesday. By the time I edit the rough cut, I review the rough cut with Seth. I add all the pans, zooms, and edits, music, intro and outro, revisions, watching it all the way through to make sure that it's good, watching it all the way through again after rendering it to make sure everything rendered correctly. I probably watch every Top Tuesday 5 times in total. Like I watch it 5 times probably. And by the fifth time, and it was scheduled to be uploaded, I wasn't very confident in the Alfie episode. I didn't think it was anything special. I figured it. Don't get me wrong. I try to put all my effort into every Top Tuesday. I try to make every Top Tuesday the best Top Tuesday that it can be. But sometimes I feel like the material that I get is just better than others. It just is.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on the guest and depending on the subject matter, depending on the bits. Some raw versions of Top Tuesday are just better than others, in my opinion, as the editor. But then just seeing the reaction to everyone enjoying the video and thinking it's cringe, like it definitely makes me feel good because it gives me affirmation that, okay, we're doing something right here. We're doing something right.
Yep.
There are times where I doubt myself, and obviously I'm still new to editing. But one thing that I have learned the past year of doing Top Tuesday and editing a podcast is that, like, at the end of the day, no one is behind my shoulder telling me how to edit anything. I have to decide.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be the one to say that this is good enough. At the end of the day, I'm the editor, and Seth comes along and we review everything before anything's finalized, and we pitch ideas off of each other. And sometimes I'll make last minute edits right there in front of him that to just come up from like the final review. Like we're just watching something, and he's like, it would be funny if we did that, do that, and I'll cook it up real quick, and. But I just really feel like this is just like my first passion project I've ever had, and I'm just so thankful for where it is right now and like where it could go.
Yeah,
Because
it's the most unique content going on right now in the OSRS scene, 100%.
And I'm happy we're doing that, because if I was doing a one chunk Iron Man episode, I'd probably paint my brains across the ceiling, to be honest, because I do not want to do that. I do not want to do that type of RuneScape editing. I am not a fan of it. I've had to do it a couple times, and while I'm doing it, I find myself staring at a screen like it's 9 to 5.
It's wild how, and YouTube, just the YouTube space is so big. It's crazy how there are still chunk accounts. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the occasional extreme chunk stuff just to see how autistic things can get. But there's just so much of it. It's just crazy. And they still get just tons and tons and tons of views. Even like if somebody were to make a new chunk account right now that's very well edited, it would just pop off again. It's wild. So I'm always impressed by the very unique stuff. Like Top Tuesday truly is something that, first of all, I don't believe like anybody else even has the capability to host, because it is so cringeworthy sometimes. And Seth just nails it. He's just there, completely just cool with extending this silence and awkwardness and asking the most like weird questions. And so he's one of the only creators that could do it, and it's just masterfully like produced. So.
And it's so, I wish I could show more. I wish I was allowed to, because there's a lot of stuff that you just don't see. A typical Top Tuesday, when I get the rough files, it runs for anywhere from about 55 minutes to where if they died or they had to do the raid, to like from 55 minutes to an hour and a half. And I try to chunk that down into anywhere from 25 minutes to 35 minutes. Obviously we've gone over, because sometimes you just can't take stuff out. It's just too fucking funny. Like you can't take this out. I know this. If we took this out, we'd save 5 minutes, but it's just too fucking funny. But there are times where Seth does break character, or he breaks the fourth wall. That is somewhere that we differ in opinions. Him being the more professional, he doesn't like to break the fourth wall. He doesn't like to break character. Whereas I, on the other hand, I love fourth wall breaks. I love seeing something when someone breaks character. It just makes it feel more real to me. But Seth, he thinks of it as unprofessional, so sometimes we don't do it. But we did get to do it on the Alfie episode. We get to see a sliver of him breaking character when he's mouthing to himself, "What the fuck?" after Alfie just said something ridiculous. So it's just it's so much fun to do. It really reminds me of playing with Play-Doh. It's just I get to people say dumb stuff or they look funny in a camera or they just do something off-putting and I can extend it, shorten it, or completely remove it. It's like it's plug and play, and it's so much fun to do.
Okay, let me ask you this. So just trying to ignore views and the success of episodes, like all of that aside, what has been your favorite ToB Tuesday?
Oh boy. Oh man.
And try to just again try to keep it all aside, the reactions of the people and what you thought was going to be.
We've done so many now. I have to go look at the videos right now. I have to
just go browse it.
So we have Alfie, Dino, he doesn't keep the names on these anymore. Phoenix, Guns Chili, we had Jesse. I really have to say it's a tie. It's going to be a tie between Skill Specs and Fatty C's ToB Tuesday. From an editor, I enjoyed making Skill Specs ToB Tuesday more. I think it's the funnier one, but also just being a big fan of Fatty C. It's really hard to say because I'd say those are the two prime examples of Skill Specs being someone that doesn't know what's going on, being fun to edit, and then like having someone on like Fatty C, who I know is going to give me something good because he's going to perform on camera. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I got to go with the Skill Specs. I got to go with the Skill Specs episode and the people like Skill Specs that come on and they don't know what the fuck's going on. That's the hardest time I laugh. I feel like that's the more creative I get is when they don't know what's going on, and I can really make it seem more awkward, less awkward, more exciting, less exciting, depending on the mood and how I want it. There's more creative freedom as to someone who knows what's going on.
Yep.
I would say.
Man, I'm just thinking like in the future, if what I would love to see, what's it called? In Between Two Ferns? Is that what that show is called? With
that is the Zach Galifianakis. That's the Zach Galifianakis interview. Is In Between Two Ferns.
My brother loves that, and I've seen a few, and I'm just imagining, at some point in the future, Seth is actually sitting down with old school creators or anybody for that matter, and actually sitting down in a studio. Seeing how crazy it can get.
I would love an IRL ToB Tuesday. I would love to set it up. I would love to produce it. It would be so much fucking fun to do,
dude. And when are we doing that? WW? Oh yeah, after 500 patrons, we're gonna do the WWE.
Yeah. If there's anybody out there with a lot of money, we get the 500 Patreons on the Based After Dark Patreon. We're going to be putting on an old school RuneScape WWE. So we're gonna read it.
There were some ideas. Like I remember there was just some like kind of theory crafting. Like imagine, this is back when fights were, content creator fights were kind of a big thing. We're like, ooh, like what would be some cool matchups with OSRS people in a ring together, but as soon as WWE came to mind, where it's actually just fake and it's fully scripted, that sounds so much more entertaining.
It absolutely does.
Than an actual boxing match or something. Yeah. It
kind of like it makes me wonder how hard it must be to do this logistically, because I feel like someone with like OTK or FaZe or all these gaming companies or streaming companies would have the idea to do something like this. I feel like it would be very popular, and I wonder if it's easier to do a boxing event. You probably don't have to plan as much. Because you're just relying on the people coming in and being trained or not, right? Mm-hmm. I would imagine.
Yep.
Whereas, like, if you do a WWE event, like, you have riders, you're putting people's bodies on the line that may or may not be athletic at all. You have to get people's permissions. I imagine there's, like, lawyer fees and, like, setting up contracts and possibly NDAs and and safety contract. I can only imagine the type of shit that it's gonna have to go into it if we do this.
Oh,
If we
it
get
would
to the
be, yeah.
500.
If it were to be like a real official thing, if it wasn't, if you, as soon as you start expanding it a little bit, and it's not just the hosts on Base After Dark or something, where you can all just kind of do it under the table and just kind of like whatever. If somebody gets hurt, it's just we'll find something. But it's as soon as there starts getting into like you're expanding and there's legal things that need to be covered and
No, yeah,
liabilities and
it's
stuff, that's
like
gonna be so expensive.
I mean, God forbid, we break Tasty's clavicle and he can't, he can't be Mr. Behemoth no more. That's not good for business.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I just thought it would be so great, having Prison Joe and Hamzy as the
Oh no,
commentators and just
it's a great idea. Like we need to do this if we don't get to like. Eventually, we need to do this because
yeah.
this would just be something really cool to do. Is to put on our own WWE league. It would be fucking amazing to do. We'd be legends. It would go viral. There's no. If we
Yeah.
did it right, there's no doubt in my mind it wouldn't go viral.
Oh, it
There's
would
no,
be crazy, dude.
yeah, no doubt in my mind. If we had the camera, if we'd have to hire people.
Oh yeah, it would have to be a big thing. It'd have to have really great lighting. It would have to have maybe even because now I'm thinking, okay, does there need to be a live audience or can you make it so the camera angles are close enough where it sort of you can kind of have the illusion that maybe there's an audience but you never actually pan over it because
Logistically speaking, I think the first time we do this
it could
probably
not
needs to
have an
be
audience. Yeah.
no audience. I don't know how we would get an audience in the first place,
Just
but
have to get some editing and just like put in a fake audience.
no, that's where that we couldn't be able to do this live. It would have to be filmed.
Oh, 100%. You'd have to take retakes
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah,
Yes,
this could not
yeah.
be. This could not be
This would
actually
not be live.
Yeah.
This would have to be filmed. And now that I'm thinking about it, it'd probably be easier than we're making it. We probably wouldn't have to hire that many people. We'd have to definitely like set up a nice ass scene in a gym somewhere. But with if we were splicing everything together, editing everything together, we'd only need one cameraman. And then like a couple of static cameras set up elsewhere. We could probably make this happen now that we're talking about this.
God, that would be absolutely insane.
I would love to just be a side character.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to have a big role. I just want to be like the comedic relief.
Oh my God, that'd be great.
That's what I'd like to do. Just be the comedic relief. I'll let Hamzy worry it. If this happens, Hamzy is 100% gonna write this. I think he's the person we make in charge of the writing team, to give everyone their character and like their place and their story and like their different arcs. And I got we're talking about this like it's real. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, right, we'll never get the 500 patrons, but
Who knows?
a year and a half from now, we might be setting up a fucking WWE shot at a gym somewhere.
Yeah, no, it would be crazy if that actually happened.
It would be insane. Imagine, Sater, for a week, instead of not going to Orlando, we just go to somewhere in Montana.
It's just work. It's actually just work. We're just like, no, we're
yeah.
filming all week. Like, damn.
Yeah,
that'd be
we're
awesome.
filming all week. It would be so fucking cool to do. It would be absolutely insane to do.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I mean, there's so many other ideas as well when it comes to, it doesn't even have to be WWE related. I mean, remember the show Amazing Race? Like,
Yeah.
Imagine you get a bunch of, so instead of GG or, the Gillinor Games whole thing where it's all RuneScape related, imagine real life, you get 20 OSRS creators that are partnered up and doing things actually around a city. And you've set up things and you've hired cameramen. They're going to film this shit and you put it all together. That would be insane.
That would be insane.
I mean,
Soup, if you're listening, this is the next step above Gillinor Games.
Seriously.
This would be...
It would be wild. It would be so cool. And you already have the personalities. You got like settled and framed as a team running around a city that you've decided, and or even better yet, get just a straight up. We all fly to an island and we just make a Survivor. Soup would because Soup doesn't he say he loves Survivor?
God, dude. An IRL old school RuneScape content creator survivor. Bro, that would go so hard.
It
That
would
would
be
be
crazy.
it
Again,
would be so
a lot
insane.
of legal stuff would need to just the
Oh,
potential.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that
But
you have
just
to build your way
imagine.
up. I think like Amazing Race would be would have to be the first step because that doesn't seem to be that crazy. As long as it's just little things, little
No, the
competitions,
survivor aspect sounds more likely
intense,
in my
yeah,
opinion.
way more
Yeah.
intense.
Well, a lot more remote. When you think
Yeah,
you got to think about with the Amazing Race,
I
you have to
mean,
plan all this frivolous planning out. It's
totally.
you're gonna go to this country, you got to get this moped, and you got to go meet Enrique, and you got to go down to the little flea market they have down there, and you'll find two more plane tickets. And it's a mystery. You have to figure out where you have to go, and it's like
Yeah,
that'd be
that
really hard to plan out.
it wouldn't have to be as insane or as like planned out. It wouldn't have to be that extreme, especially when it's OS artist creators. It's not people like that are already the most adventurous people ever.
Yeah.
I think another more realistic one was, you know, the like Big Brother sort of house thing where you just
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
basic based meetup. You're at an Airbnb and you've set up cameras all around the
Yes.
place.
I
and
would
and you
love
have
to do something
interviews.
like that.
And so you have a few guys that are like, "Hey, we're going to be just constantly interviewing you, creating fake drama, just shit like that." And then it's all compiled together into like a few episodes for each season. That would be so much fun cuz you could still just relax and chill here and there, but at least at night or something
Yes.
you're planning for just some fake drama and it's scripted out like, okay, we're going to have this guy as, you
Yeah.
know, that would be fun as fuck. Because
Well,
there really is no like drama happening, so it would have to all be scripted. It'd have to be some fake shit.
are you familiar with this show called Fish Tank? Are you familiar? Have you heard of that at all? Have you heard of
No, I
Fish
haven't.
Tank?
I haven't.
There's a very controversial figure in the comedic world. His name is Sam Hyde. I'm not a fan of Sam Hyde. I just know of him. I've seen a lot of videos, a lot of commentary videos of him, and I know what he does. I am not here advocating for him, so I want to get that off straight. But he has something like this called Fish Tank, where he invites random people from the internet into a house and he puts them through torture, through
Oh,
like
Jesus.
subjugated torture of one another, and like these people clash and their egos, and like sometimes there's like legit like not mentally well people in the house with them. But yeah, everything is filmed and recorded and scripted, and like people live down in the basement and come out in costumes and fuck with people. And I would love to do something like that, just not that extreme. I like something much more chill,
Yeah, that
So that's
sounds crazy.
no, it's
Jesus Christ.
absolutely no. It's that side of the internet is full of fucking degenerates that I don't dip my toe in. I just like to look at from afar and be like, well,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
people are fucking insane, and they are fucking insane.
There's definitely a lot of potential for the future when it comes to some
Uh,
in real life projects.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
let's I'm looking at these Twitter topics. There's a few I want to cover with you.
Okay, go for it.
Tasty Life is asking which cast member gives you the most anxiety when they come on because you'll have so much more editing to do. And I guess he's probably talking about Based, or maybe he's talking about Top Tuesday.
I think he's talking about the podcast
Okay.
After Dark. I think he's talking about Base After Dark. I don't feel any anxiety. I've been doing it for so long now. I kind of like know what to expect. Just because Tasty asked this question, I'm just gonna say Tasty because I've told him multiple times now that his over-the-head earphones echo other people talking on the podcast, and I have to I have to edit out every time on the podcast. So if you could lower the gain on your microphone, Tasty, that'd be great.
At least that's the thing that's giving you anxiety. Not, I was expecting something maybe a bit more intense.
No,
Not ignoble. I was thinking
everyone's.
ignoble solid was definitely going to give you the most
I'm not
anxiety.
gonna. Ignoble's the homie. I'm not gonna. Ignoble's been the straw man of the podcast for almost over 2 years now. So I'm gonna give him a break. He's got enough. He's been punched around enough.
Prison Joe asks, can you get settled on Top Tuesday?
I feel like if I could have a 5 minute conversation with him, I could. Yeah. I don't have the connections to get that 5 minute conversation probably, but if I felt like if I could sit down with him, maybe have a coffee with him, I think he'd be more than thrilled to come on Top Tuesday. you know.
We were talking in Orlando, and I brought up the idea of like, what if Maud Ash came on ToB Tuesday? That would be so goated.
I would,
And I was also saying, because I think I sat down with Seth, or yeah, I could say Seth, right?
yeah, you can say
Hopefully.
Seth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sat down with Seth. That's Prison Joe for those wondering. But on the couch in Orlando, and I was just talking like you really, with ToB Tuesday and with the introduction of entry mode ToB, you really can bring anybody on, because you could just do an entry mode, and I'm pretty sure, as we spoke as well, I mean, nobody is actually watching the ToB gameplay when you're watching
No
ToB
one.
Tuesday. We're just listening to the conversations and watching their reactions.
Yeah, the only time the ToB gameplay becomes any like apparent to the story is if someone dies, or if Seth's fucking with someone,
Or a purple
or if someone
chest.
or a purple chest, or if someone messes up. I mean, ToB Tuesday, like, don't get me wrong, well, everything that's going on, they're doing ToB, but it's just not the focal point of the episode at
Dude,
all.
this just came to my mind. You have to make a compilation of the best ToB Tuesday moments, make it like an hour long, and just get all the very best cringe moments like that, and get it of a variety of guests. So something like that would pop off, and it would actually inspire you to go to listen to those previous episodes.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about doing something like that recently. I know for a future video that we're going to be doing, his Road to Blood Torva series, we're going to be compiling all of that together and making a video on that. So look out for that too. That should be coming out sometime next week as well. On Prison Joe's channel is the Road to Blood Torva complete series. So,
Okay,
which was a fun series to do.
Yeah. I'm reading this one because I love Dr. Elo to death. By the way, I listened to that episode of Base After Dark where Hamzy just randomly is talking with Dr. Elo on the phone, and like, what the fuck? That was crazy. You got to go listen to that episode. That's wild. That's some of that like 1 in a million type shit that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, that we talked about, like the RNG happening to you IRL.
Yeah, crazy. I was thinking about that when it was brought up, and Hamzy talked about as well his, logging into somebody else's like airline account.
Yeah, I didn't believe that.
That is
dude,
so crazy.
Hamzy always has some shit to say, so I'm always skeptical of him saying. I don't know if I believe that one. That one just sounds.
Thing is, like, there hasn't been anything where, like, I don't think he's said anything that's been proven to be like not real that he said. I don't see him as a liar either, so I actually believe him, and which is fucking crazy. But I was thinking after that, I was like, I wonder if I was like going through like my life sort of, and just thinking of those crazy RNG moments where something is so wildly rare to have had happened, and nothing really came to mind exactly. Nothing on that, that tier of.
I mean,
RNG.
I told this on the Base After Dark podcast, but yeah, my biggest RNG thing that happened to me IRL was I went to the airport and someone else had the exact same Prison Joe merch shirt that I had on, and that shirt, he probably only sold about 80 of those shirts at the time, so there's only 80 of those shirts in circulations, and the odds that two people bought the same shirt from the same Twitch streamer and went to the airport at the exact same time, and they both had it on, was just insane. That's I don't even want to know like the actual odds behind that.
That is
like
so. That
in
is
the billions probably.
Yeah, and then when you told that story on that episode, that made me think of when I was leaving Orlando. I was waiting at my gate to fly to Denver and then eventually to Eugene, and I'm just waiting at my gate. I'm just standing there. They're saying, A people fly Southwest. The A people can line up, and I'm standing there. And some guy just comes up to me and he's like, Sae Bae? I mean, we're talking like Orlando airport. A random guy says, Sae Bae from the Sae Bae cast? And I turn around, and this guy I've never seen before, never met. He had no connection with the base thing that we were doing at all. Just sitting there. And he's like, bro, huge fan of your podcast. Like, what the hell? And so we take a picture together, and his name, Of course, his name is Jay Ballsack on Twitter or on Twitch, which is just great. You know, I met a guy named Jay Ballsack on his
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
persona, but no, he was cool as shit, and we were on the same flight to Denver, and you know, that's one of those. It's Southwest. There's no assigned seating, so you know he's just sat one row ahead of me. And
Uh-huh.
I'm one of the last people that's boarding the plane. He's just right ahead of me, and it's just what are the odds that I just meet somebody that actually listens to the Sae Bae cast at a fucking airport? That was like the first moment where I'm like, oh shit, like it's
Yeah,
kind of cool
it's
being noticed.
yeah. Well, that's why like I told this in the story, but like when he was taking off his hoodie, I thought he was gonna pull a gun out because like why else is he lifting up his hoodie in front of me, bro? It's like,
And Tasty
but
said
no,
that
he's
would have
wearing.
actually been higher odds.
No, it probably no, it would have been lower odds. Probably would have been more likely I was gonna
Yeah,
get
yeah,
shot
yeah,
than
yeah.
him have the fucking same exact shirt that I have from the same exact Twitch streamer. And it's just, how did you feel after that? Like, did you feel like
It
any type of way about it, or?
I don't even know because you know I am aware enough to realize like okay, I've done the Sae Bae cast for 3.5 years. I mean, it has over 5 million views across all the episodes. Now,
Mhm.
that's not 5 million unique individuals, but, you know, I mean, the Alex Sween podcast, Mod Sween, his first episode has, you know, over 200,000 views.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a pretty decent sized people that have at least heard of the Sae Bae cast. So I
Uh-huh.
understand we're not just talking 1,000 viewers or something. Like people know what it is, and I've posted things on Reddit. And I mean, if you post something onto the 2007 Scape Reddit, you get 100,000 eyeballs on it if it gets a couple hundred upvotes. I mean, you just
Yeah.
look at it. So people eventually have heard of the Sae Bae cast, or you know, even if I were to just I don't know. I'm just thinking of things that I don't even follow. But if I were to see somebody in person, I don't know. It just feels like I would approach them and say like, "Hey, what's up?" And anyway, I'm kind of not really making coherent sense right now. But basically, I didn't take it super seriously because I realized eventually this is going to happen. You know, eventually somebody is going to recognize me in public. It was just crazy that it was across the country.
Yeah.
And I mean, because there's actually been a few people that have seen me in my hometown right now that have spotted me and they come into my Twitch channel like, oh my God, I saw you biking yesterday. Like, what the fuck, dude? And in fact, I have a moderator now that he's been watching my content for like 5 years or so. And 5 years ago, I was living in Alabama and he comes into my stream. He's like, are you from Eugene, Oregon? And I'm like, I mean, yeah. And he's like, I swear I recognize you, but we couldn't get like the whole, you know, matchup of like where he recognized me from. He went to my high school and he saw me. He's another guy because he lives in my city right now. He's
Uh-huh.
another guy that has seen me biking around. And so he comes into my stream. He's like, bro, I saw you. I swear to God. So, and you know, he works at a restaurant over here and he invited me. He's like, dude, come to my restaurant tomorrow morning and I'll pay for your breakfast. So I head over there and we meet up and we know a bunch of the same people and shit. And it's just really, really cool. And he's one of my mods now. And it's interesting. I don't know. So I just understand eventually you meet people that do recognize you if you're in the online space enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just life is so funny sometimes where things like that just work out like to the point where someone near you saw you in the real world and then sees you on Twitch and they make that connection. They're like, I just saw you. What the fuck?
Now,
Like,
have you ever met somebody in real life that you've seen online only and you see them in person? That's
oh, I
not been
mean,
a based meetup or anything. No
um,
meetups.
I'm trying to even, I think when we were at TwitchCon in Vegas, I saw, just well, not Puggin, some other dude with like something Pug in his name. I saw him over at the Area 51, and the guy I was with was freaking out and be like, "Do you not know who that is?" I was like, "No, I have no idea who that." Like he looked familiar, but I didn't know exactly who it was. It turned out it was some like 20K streamer or something. I can't remember his name.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, not
it,
Puggin.
yeah, no, not Puggin. No, it was something that it was
Okay.
something like that. But no, nothing crazy. I've not met anyone like famous. I mean, besides like B0aty, but like that's at based events. So like, no, I've not met anyone too fucking crazy. No.
I, yeah, I don't think I have either. I mean, I haven't traveled much either. There's been a few times when I'm walking in an airport, a big packed airport. Denver's the one that always comes to mind because it's just massive straightaways of
Hmm.
the just you're walking down, and I will just stare at people. I mean, I'm just looking at
Oh
everybody
yeah,
there, and I'm just
that's the best place to
waiting.
do it.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting for to see somebody that I might recognize. And I definitely there's been a few times where I've seen somebody and I'm like, oh my god, like is that like an actor from a movie or a TV show I've seen before? You know, but I'm never too sure. And people look a little bit different in TV and in real life, so
Hmm.
nothing has actually. I don't think I've ever crossed somebody that I've actually like recognized fully. I think in Las Vegas once I saw somebody. I couldn't even remember their name, but I saw somebody famous. But that's almost to be expected in Las Vegas if you're walking down the strip.
Yeah, and even if I did see someone famous, I don't know if I'd have the balls to go up to them, because
It would have
you
to be
hear
somebody
you,
you actually like respect and know their content and stuff. Like you could actually have a
yeah.
conversation of like, "Hey, I loved you in this role or whatever content you do." Yeah,
Like I've been to a lot of concerts, and I have friends and family. Like their whole purpose of going to that concert is to obviously watch someone specific that they like, but in hopes of like getting either on stage or backstage or meeting them after the concert or interacting with them. And I've never been that guy. I've never. I've went and seen Green Day on 4 different occasions, and I've had opportunities to go and talk to them and get like backstage passes for like an extra couple $100. But it's never been a part of me. The phrase "never meet your heroes."
yeah.
I kind of hold that to be true. Like I don't want to ruin the illusion, and like especially in terms of like content creation. There's so many people that you watched growing up, and then like coming to light that they're a terrible fucking person. Like
That was not
I
the case with
never.
B0aty though. B0aty's a legend.
No, not the case with B0aty. No, of course not. But like, um, it's just
Yeah,
I don't know.
big celebrities and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never sought that out. You know.
It's what I think what's really interesting is watching a I feel like actors have a lot of restrictions when it comes to real life interviews or long form content. Somebody like let's just say Brad Pitt. You see
Yeah.
Brad Pitt or you see Tom Cruise and you just have this idea in your head and most people have this idea like they're a fucking legend. Like they're just
Yeah.
S tier celebrity, just, so fucking popular. And I feel like there's almost this like unspoken rule that like they can't be seen in a long form thing because it'll break that illusion almost of who they are. They need to like maintain this persona because there's been a few actors that have gone on long form podcasts, for example. Like I know Matthew McConaughey was on Joe Rogan and listening to that, it kind of broke the illusion of the roles he's played in movies and you kind of just start to understand him a little bit more. And somebody like Tom Cruise, if he were to go on Joe Rogan or any sort of podcast and genuinely talk for 3 hours, I feel like, well, I don't know, maybe Tom Cruise is already just completely solidified at this point, but there's like a few people that I feel like when you really get to know them, if they were to
Yeah.
truly be honest and open in a conversation, that's the other thing. Because you'll have somebody like The Rock. I watched his appearance on Joe Rogan, and he still has that PR thing going where like don't talk about certain things.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
just
Well,
keep it all like surface level. Try to maintain that
it.
illusion.
I think it's just in terms of like big Hollywood actors, like everything they do is so curated, right?
Yes, and it
It
has to be.
probably it goes through multiple different people before it's even on the internet, probably, right? So
Totally.
like yeah, so it doesn't make sense for them to do long form things. It just doesn't.
What
It
is
just doesn't.
what is that whole like? I wonder who. What are the studies that have been done? Like the psychology behind not breaking that illusion of big A-list Hollywood
Well,
actors that
well,
are
I
just
mean, you can look at Michael Jackson and like what he was the most. He's not an actor, but he's an artist, and he was the world's most popular artist, and he was so famous to where he had a private grocery store built on his land and hired actors to be shoppers in that grocery store so he could experience what it was
What
like
the
to get
fuck?
groceries. Like that's how famous he was,
That's
right? To where
fucking wild.
he didn't know what it was like to get groceries, man. And like the disconnect there between him and like who's listening to his music is so fucking far. And it can't be too far off from some of these actors, from people that, you know, the disconnect from people that are watching, like people like Leonardo DiCaprio or the, like you said, The Rock, you know,
Yep.
who's just a PR centered heavy person. Like if anything got out about The Rock being like even just a, if there's even a clip out there of The Rock kicking a puppy, oh my god, it would be a fucking disaster if that got
Yep.
online,
Yep.
right? It
Yep.
would be fucking terrible.
Dude,
So like,
can you? I mean, I'm thinking of child stars like Miley Cyrus or somebody like.
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, they grow up, they're completely inundated with fame from just childhood. They
The
know
get-go.
they know nothing else. I wonder how badly that like fucks you up. I mean, think of like Britney Spears
does.
even, because she
No,
went
yeah.
through some fucking shit. And Amanda Bynes, did you hear her? Like she went fucking
Yeah,
crazy too.
well, dude, all those Nickelodeon people, like fucking Dan Schneider, did a number on some kids in that industry,
Yeah,
man. Dan
god
Schneider
damn.
is a piece of shit. He brought us all my favorite classics of Nickelodeon, like of you know what sitcoms, but
Hmm.
like he was just a piece of shit behind the screen, and he ruined people's lives. He ruins people's psyches. But yeah, that's what happens when at a young age you're set up on a pedestal, and you get
Man.
all this attention, and everywhere you go, people know who you are. They know your face. You're like, oh, that's Leonardo DiCaprio. He was in the Titanic. God, I could not imagine. And before that, what was eating Gilbert Grape? Like he did, like phenomenal. Like how this child could put on this performance, right, and just can captivate an entire nation, the entire world, even. And to expect them to grow up to be normal, I would say is just not fair because it's not going to happen. Like they are far from normal. They are abnormal.
I
And
wonder how like with the percentage of those super 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 big celebrities that wish they didn't have that life or wish they could just be a normal person. It's very very few, because to be honest there's tons of celebrities, but there's so many that you wouldn't even recognize on the street. There's only
I
I would
feel
say
like
just like a couple hundred maybe at the most that you would be very well recognized anywhere.
yeah, and it's just it's probably just person to person. You know, it rains on the just and the unjust alike. You know,
Hmm.
like you can be a great person and be sad. You can be a terrible person and be sad. You know, you can have problems in your life, and hold on, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to. The point I'm trying to make here is that like, I just imagine it's a case by case
Yeah,
for
for
these
sure.
actors to deal with the traumas they have, to deal with all of their problems growing up, and realizing that if their family didn't steal their money, or if they have the money from their acting gigs still, they get paid royalties. They probably realize, okay, I probably just need to figure my shit out, and everything else in life will be taken care of like it always has been. And I feel like that's what most of them do. They write a book, or they go get therapy and rehab, and they're still living off royalties. And some of them probably don't ever act again, and or they do online content, you know.
Hmm.
But a few of them, yeah, it's definitely has warped their lives, probably not for the better.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird when you think about it. I mean, we are just simply evolved primates. So to be born into a world where you just have everything given to you, and
Yes,
money
and
isn't even like an object. Basically, you just have anything you want. You have.
it's so
You just gotta have
similar
so
to.
much. You gotta have so much time on your hand to just think, and that can be really jarring to like really put your life into perspective of like, yeah, that could really fuck somebody up. I feel like.
Well, we've kind of done that throughout history. I like to think of it like as royalty, the monarch. These are the people anointed by God. Where
Yeah,
a king dies and his 3-year-old son is now king, and he's anointed by God. You're telling a 3-year-old that
dude,
you're the anointed one to lead all these people, and everything you say will be law and
dude.
will be. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Do you think that they believe it? And I want to expand on this because I grew up Mormon, and I was born and raised into a cult that there is the 12 apostles and the first presidency in that organization. And
Yeah.
in the first presidency is the prophet, and the prophet, we believe, speaks directly to God. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, okay, so and all of these, at least the modern day prophets and apostles, they're like fourth or fifth generation Mormons at this point. I mean, they've been, from birth raised into this cult. So I'm just wondering at some point, do they believe it? Like, does the prophet, is he fooling himself? Because I totally understand the power of belief. I mean, you can
Yeah.
truly just, you can believe anything,
You
basically.
can believe
So
anything.
I'm just
And yeah.
wondering, and especially like the Pope or somebody, or the prophet in the Mormon church, do they believe they're actually talking to God? Because I remember on my mission, we would have gossip. We would just sit down as missionaries and we would just talk, quote unquote, deep doctrine. And that's like all the fucking weird conspiracy shit where we're talking like, like, does Jesus come down? This is when I was just full on believing at this point, and there's rumors like, Jesus goes to the temple and he talks to the prophet and they tell you, it's so fucking weird talking about right now because I sound actually crazy.
Yeah,
but
no, yeah.
but that is why I understand the power of belief so much, because I actually fucking believe that 100% at the time. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
just wondered, do they believe it?
If they're like, if you're raised on it, and like, God, the upbringing for that shit is probably crazy. Just as someone who grew up Southern Baptist in a particularly reasonable religious household, not extremely religious. I would go to church on Sundays, and I was a really big firm believer up until about 16, and then something really traumatic in my life happened that involved the church, and I've never looked back since. But in terms of like people that believe that they're a prophet or they believe that they're talking to God, I would say a good majority of them probably believe it. Sociopaths do exist, but I think in terms of like mental illness, like I think sociopath is lower than, like, in terms of someone being having like delusions of reality or being a sociopath. I think it's more likely they have delusions than to be a sociopath.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I don't.
Did you watch the FLDS documentary on Warren Jeffs?
No, I did not.
There's some Netflix documentary, and it's just talking about the what is it called? I think it's like Fundamental Latter-day Saints or whatever it's called, but it's like an offshoot of generic Mormonism. And
Yeah.
they still believe in the Book of Mormon and everything, but it was way more of just this cult, and they took everything a little bit more extreme. And and you had this prophet, that was leading the church and the cult and just kind of like subjugating their people into just very narrow mindset of the world and everything, and being fearful of everything. And then they started somewhere in Texas. They had like a fucking like fortress basically that they're making their like Zion or whatever. And Warren Jeffs becomes the new prophet. So he's the son of the prophet, and the prophet had like multiple wives. I don't know how many, maybe 20 or something. And he was one of the sons of his favorite wife or something like that, and he becomes the prophet. So he's born into this cult, and now Warren Jeffs is now the prophet that's leading this cult. And so when you're born into something, you believe.
Yeah.
I can only imagine he truly believes he is called of God to run this, because maybe if you just have your brain's wired a little bit differently, you can just come to a conclusion like, okay, this is all fucking bullshit. But it would be very hard to come to that conclusion if you're actually grown up into the cult that's secluded from everything else.
Yeah, something very dramatic would have to happen in your environment that would make you start questioning, like, whether or not this was real. Like, it's something very contradictory to what you believe would have to happen right in front of you for you to be like, hold on, is this all bullshit? Like, have I bought into this bullshit? And then you have to like go on, like, you have to do a little soul searching. Like, you have to be a little like, but if your mind is just fucking closed shut, like, you're not skeptical, like, you're 100% believe in this. Yeah, like, you at a young age and you're brought up that way, it's really hard. It's really hard to escape that. Most people don't.
And it's hard to escape it, not only mentally, but also just the consequences of your actual, like,
Your
what's actually
actions.
going to happen, what's like actually going to happen to you physically. I mean, you're just your whole status in the world gets fucked up. Your idea of who you are as a person gets fucked up. You might lose
Hmm.
family, you might lose friends, you're going to lose a bunch of connections, you're going to have to rebuild. You're going to maybe lose your job if you're involved in it. And one of the things that was interesting is when I was having my whole faith crisis, I remember going on like ex-Mormon subreddit and just reading a bunch of shit.
Hmm.
And one of the things that was really interesting is, when people become high up in the Mormon church and become an apostle, which is like one of like it's just super high position. There's 12 of them, and then there's the first presidency right above that. But there's like these kind of, who knows if they're really fully true, because there's no real facts on here. It's just people kind of
Yeah.
speculating. But somebody had said, like, there was one apostle that gets into the quorum. He imagines he's going to be talking with Jesus or something, just like, okay, now he's going to do it, and he realizes nothing's changed. He's just now
Yeah.
a part of this higher up part of the cult. And what
Yeah.
happens though is when you get to that point, the church pays you to be in that position. I mean, you're covered now. I mean, they even give you like a couple $1 million stipend just to be there. Like, you're good. Whatever you want, whatever vacations you want to go on, you're good. So it's
Yeah.
almost like you coming to the conclusion at that point that this is all fucking bullshit. You're still just going to double down for the most part, because you
Yeah.
realize me
Yeah.
disavowing this is going to fuck up my life. And on top of that,
Yeah.
this is the even crazier part, because not only are you just going to lose this opportunity to have a great life, the money for the rest of your life, because you're in it for life at that point, but
Yeah.
on top of that, you have 17 million. Well, I can't. Well, the 17 million are in the church. Faithful, maybe a few million. You got a few million people that worship you. I mean, genuinely think you are the fucking goat, that you talk with
Yeah.
God. And so you disavowing that, like, bro, you're going to lose
Man.
the status of like people worshiping you. Like, you're basically a like a demigod on earth. Like, you are part God on earth, and that is power, and that humans fucking love that power and that status. And so I'd
Well,
imagine people that are in those high up positions wouldn't even disavow it, even if they didn't believe it.
and I wouldn't be surprised if that's by design almost, because why would you put in all that time, all the missionaries, all the bullshit, especially if you believed. Like that's got to be the worst part, is that you believe that you're doing the Lord's work. You believe you're doing good on earth, and then you finally get to that position. You're like, I'm gonna talk to Jesus, and it's just 11 more dipshits in suits now. It's just like
Oh my God, dude.
it's just like, oh fuck, man. But then you look at your bank account and your hot Mormon wife, maybe multiple Mormon wives, and some mistresses, and you're like,
Yep. It's not worth it.
this.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Well, whatever you need me to do.
And what's crazier is when you are so indoctrinated into it. I mean, there's also the fear. I mean, because, if you were that indoctrinated that you truly believed up until that point, it's not just going to be one day you're like, oh, this is all fake, and this is easy to leave. And no, you're going to have these systems in place in your mind. I mean, your mind is fucked up at that point, to the point where like you truly believe it, and you trying to break free from that spell that's been cast on you for your whole life is almost impossible at such an old age. And
No.
so
Yeah.
you're going to have those constant doubts. So even if you were to be really certain that this is all bullshit, you'd still have that little bit of doubt, like,
Dude,
what if I'm wrong? Or,
it just it's such a testament to how like religion spreads and gets formed, like how
wild.
destitute people had to have been. Because when was Joseph Smith, like, when did he meet the Cherokee Indian aliens or whatever, the angels that came to him and showed him
Yeah,
the golden tablets?
1820,
1820,
Yeah.
1820, just a little over 200 years ago, some blonde 16-year-old that's been kicked out of two towns for swindling people, swindles a fucking generations of people
Yep.
with this, and starts up a multi-million-dollar religion, bro.
Multi-billion.
Just multi-billion-dollar religion. Excuse me.
I want to say the church's net worth is somewhere like close to like 100 billion, if not more. It's wild. And you look at the the yearly earnings just from tithing. So just what the members pay, it's 10% of their income. Just that alone, I'm pretty sure the church is profiting like 7 or 8 billion a year.
Dude, what's the Catholic Church making? Holy shit.
Yeah,
Like, that's
no
just
idea.
Mormonism.
Yep.
And like Catholicism is thousands of years old, man. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's so wild that like we have all this technology now like surrounding us. Like it's integrated. It's in our pockets. It's for our jobs. It's without it, shit wouldn't work right. And yet we still on Sunday we go talk to them about the magic man in the sky that needs your money, by the way. He needs your money. The magic man in the sky that loves you but will condemn you to eternal hell. He needs your money. He needs your money. Don't forget that. Don't you ever forget that. He needs your money.
Man, it's just what really is unfortunate is like there is good in religion. Like there's clearly good precepts that are taught. I'm under no illusion that a lot of the values that I hold now come from my upbringing and come from my religion. It's just a damn shame that you can't just throw away the garbage and the nonsense and that just falsehoods that are taught. You're just teaching things that are just simply untrue. And you're telling me as a kid that this is true, this is true, this is true. And so when it comes to not be true verifiably, like what am I supposed to do? Like just fucking pretend, oh, okay, I'm just going to keep pretending this is true as my frontal lobe is fully developed and I completely understand this is false. And so
and then the gaslighting when you become older. It's dude, I'll never forget like becoming like 16 and like,
oh my God.
I was raised Baptist, Southern Baptist, so like all the Old Testament stories of like Noah's Ark and Genesis and the Cain and Abel, and all those stories. I thought it was true.
Same.
I thought this was like verifiable, bro. I thought this was real. I thought it was real, and then like at 16, I was like, I'm gonna go look through that shit again. And like Noah was 414 years old, and he drank every day. And I'm like, okay, why the fuck did I believe this? And you get angry, and then you do the confronting because you're angry, and then they fucking just gaslight you, and they're like, well, we never told you what to believe in. We never told you that specifically. And it's just like they're just stories. It's like it's a personal connection with God. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
So bad. You're right. Yeah, you've nailed it. That is exactly what it is. It's so bad. It's so bad, dude.
I'm just thankful that I've come to my own conclusions, and at the end of the day, I can still say, hey, I want to treat people right because that's just the right thing to do. Yeah. And I don't need eternal damnation for that. I don't need someone handing me down tablets. I can come to that conclusion all on my own. If you're mean to someone, they're probably going to be mean back to you. So it's probably best just to be nice until given a reason not to,
Yep. I know. Yeah, it's wild. The will to power for humans, it's just, it goes to show why, religions form in the first place. I mean, it's just, I just think, because I grew up Mormon, so you think of the Joseph Smith story, it's like, it's just power. Like,
I mean, I understand it. Like,
form a religion.
I couldn't imagine being a peasant 5,000 years ago with no light pollution, and at night you would see the universe unfold before your eyes. Like, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, bro. Like you pack up your shit every time winter comes around to go find someplace warmer. Like that's how you live. Every winter you got to go somewhere else. Like your tribe is nomadic. You guys don't even have language yet. You guys just know basic hand structures, and maybe you're discovering art, and like you have a shaman guy that like does medicinal and spiritual things that you have no idea about, and you just live. And you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. You don't know if the tribe down the village or down the river is going to invade you. And like, I'd much rather live through now than live through that, because that's got to be fucking a crazy experience. Crazy experience.
Yeah, no, but I don't know what I was reading. It's something about that time period though. Like that was what humans evolved to be. I mean, that was a super long period of this kind of hunter-gatherer societies where you are just in a small tribe that wanders. And I bet you anything. Like we think about it now, we just enjoy so many luxuries, and we don't even have the skills to survive if we were out in the wilderness, and
Nope.
we don't have the social connections, the cohesion with tribes to even survive. But I bet you anything that was living. Like that was truly living, like having the real human experience. Even though it's fucking brutal, you are in nature, you're having a truly authentic human experience.
Yeah, there's no microplastics in your testicles either, so yeah,
I
it's
mean,
probably pretty cool.
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Until it isn't. Until it
Yeah,
isn't.
yeah,
Until
no, we have so many amazing. I mean, just information that the information we have, science that has progressed so far. I wouldn't want to live any other way. And hopefully, in the future, we just progress so much further and we don't blow ourselves up. But yeah, there is something special about just for hundreds of thousands of years, humans really living that authentic
and
experience of life or death. Everything's life or death. I mean, you're just wow, like holy
yeah,
fuck.
all or nothing, bro. You're
Yeah,
rolling the
everything.
dice every
Everything's all
day.
or
And
nothing. That's just that's the living.
it's like people like, yes, I maxed my RuneScape account. That's the ultimate dopamine. How about you kill a deer for the first time in a week and you can feed your family? That's probably got to be way better.
Or
than
defend yourself off against another tribe that's coming to kill you.
Yeah,
Fucking A, dude.
yeah, dude. Fucking yeah. It'd be so cool to live the good parts of that, but the not good parts of that are really not good.
Oh yeah.
And depending on the history, like the time period you're in, some parts get really not cool, man.
Oh yeah.
Like
Especially when people start trying to rule over you and they're
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
sociopaths. Yeah.
yeah. And then like we discover torturing methods.
Oh my
We
God.
start fucking around with that. Like our noggins start thinking about that shit. It's like, well, how can we keep someone alive and make sure they're in pain all the time? It's like, holy fuck, dude. Like
Yeah.
we are the best and the worst things on the planet,
It's
depending on like what
100%
side you're
true.
on. It's wild.
Yep. And it's, yeah, I mean, yeah, I could go on about all of this. I mean, it is wild. Just, I'm so grateful that I live in America that's a secular, free, liberal society that
Yeah.
doesn't resort to,
That may or
theology.
may not be, just like a house of cards that may come collapsing down on us in any year now.
That's the
But like,
scary
who
thing,
knows?
man. It's
Who
so
knows?
fragile. It's so fragile.
Yeah,
All of us
yeah.
is so
Well,
fragile and so new.
yeah. It's like like what you said sounds nice, but like at the end of the day, we have super PACs and corruption, and we have government gangs and state gangs known as police, and federal agents and shit like that. Like
Yep.
depending on what side of the law you're on with America, the law doesn't mean morally right or wrong. It can be very not cool living here sometimes.
Yeah, but compared to other places on Earth, when you look
Yeah.
at the
Yep.
corruption in other places, I mean, I wake up every day not afraid for my life. I am
Very true.
wake up, I'm chilling. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I don't have some surveillance. I mean, besides my phone that's constantly filming me and recording me, but
Yeah.
I'm chilling. Like I'm good. I feel free, and that's an amazing feeling. Like freedom is the best thing you could possibly have as a human.
Yeah, and it's just the necessity of that. No one's gonna come kicking down your door telling you what you can and can't do today.
Exactly.
Type shit.
It's amazing.
It that is one thing I will say that like I feel like that is something new that like humans probably haven't got to experience a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's probably been a lot of cultures that have toyed around with this to some extent. I don't know how long it lasted or what time period it was in or who even did it. But this little experiment we have going on here, it's not perfect by any means, but it's definitely the coolest. I mean, we definitely have create. I mean, like what culture is in the world, besides like American movies and American art and music. Like we've kind of made it in that sense of if we were playing Civ, we would win a culture victory for sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's important to recognize you just compare it. I mean, you just learn a little bit about other really oppressed nations, and you just realize how lucky we have it here.
Yeah, like in North Korea, they sentenced
Oh my
those high
God.
schoolers to like 20 years hard label because
Dude.
they watched a South Korean drama.
Dude, you have to like have a picture of the dear leader on your wall and worship him and
You
like
can only
what the
have
fuck,
you
dude?
you only have 5 choices of haircut.
Dude, did you watch that what was her name? Yeonmi Park interview. She was on
Uh,
Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan and she was
no, I know exactly what you're
dude,
talking about, but I never watched it.
dude, it is so heartbreaking. It is horrific. She tells a brief story in it that, her growing up in North Korea where people are starving and people
Yeah,
are getting stoned to death for not having prayed to the dear leader.
the
and
dear leader.
and she tells a story of her walking trying to find food basically and seeing a child that's completely malnourished getting eaten by vultures still half alive on the
Oh
side of the road. And guess
man.
what? She didn't feel anything. She didn't have any, because there's no word for love there. They don't even have
Yeah.
the word in the language. So, language is such a big
Ugh.
part of humanity, and you not
Yeah.
having the word to even have, like, you can't even relate to it because there's no word for it. So she doesn't feel anything. She just sees this dying child and can't help it, and just doesn't shed a tear or anything, just walks by.
Well, it also
Like,
probably doesn't
man.
help that, all her survival instincts are probably in red alert, going off like you're gonna die soon. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
don't you don't have time for emotions. You need to find food right now.
And you know
And
what's crazy is she was taught that they have it the best, and the rest of the world is way worse. She's indoctrinated in that.
yeah, yeah, that's crazy. That's
It's so
it's such a
dark.
it's such a convenient story. It's like
So
it
dark.
sucks here, and it's like, well, it sucks everywhere else. It's like it's worse everywhere else
Yeah,
than
no,
here.
they
It's like, well,
think it's good there. They think that is like paradise, like where they're living, which is so wild.
that's absolute barnacles. That's
Yeah.
insanity. So it's crazy that something like that is happening now,
I
where
know.
two white guys are talking about it on a podcast.
And it's actually real. Like, dude, that shit. Oh my God. Like there's so many problems in the world, and it's just like you understand as soon as you understand, like, dude, this is all a luck of the draw to be who you are.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right. You're right. Yeah, it's so funny how different everyone's story could have been just based on where you were born.
yep, yep.
Absolutely crazy.
Okay, well, going back to Twitter topics, we just went on a crazy, crazy roller coaster
That
right
was a
there.
good tangent. That was
Yeah,
cool. That was
that, that,
awesome.
that was
That was
that
fun
was
to do.
great. That was fun. Bean Dip asks, "What's the worst smell you've ever smelled in a smelly way?"
Uh, hmm. Well, probably this one chick that I was talking to in college, where I could basically smell her outside her door, if you catch my drift. Um, yeah, I think I've told this story on the podcast. Was I was talking to this girl. We were kind of hooking up. This is uh sophomore year of college, and I go to her dorm, and all her friends are like outside her dorm, and they're giving me shit because they know I'm going to her dorm room, and like I smell something weird out in the hallway, and I just figured it was one of the other girls standing out in the hallway. I was like, damn, what do y'all? I didn't say this, but I was like, damn, what do y'all smell kind of funky out here? I need to get the fuck up out of here. And so I knock on her dorm on her door. She opens it, and the smell gets worse. And I was like, oh fuck, it's her. This is not good. And like she kind of like drags me in real quick and slams the door and like starts making out with me and
Oh
whatnot.
my
And I was
God.
and
Ah.
I'm like, okay, I'm like, it's not that bad, it's not that bad, I can do this. And she starts jerking me off. Uh and then she takes off her panties, and then the smell just gets fucking atrocious. Like I lose my boner. And like she could tell something was wrong, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Well, I wanted to be very mature about this because I know girls are fragile." And I was like, "You do not smell that good right now. Do you mind if we took a shower?" And then she kicked me out of her dorm room. And then I was yelling about her smelly pussy while her friends were still outside because her friends were eavesdropping on us hooking up. So that's probably the worst smell I've ever smelled. Smelly.
Oh my God. Because, yeah. Oh my. I'm so sorry. That is horrible. That
Oh
is
no! I
horrible.
mean, yeah, yeah. I mean,
I could.
dude, some guys stick it out, bro. Some guys are champs like that, where they're like, I don't care, I don't care. I'll put my penis in it. I don't care. And it's like, no, you should care. I'm just, I'm very particular with smells. I've always have been growing up. Like I've always had a
Yeah.
sensitive nose.
Yeah. I was gonna say I think the worst smell I've smelt is I want to. It could be a toss up between a few things, but the thing that comes to mind, it's just so distinct, is I'd go to these scout camps as a kid, and there's these things called kaibos, which are just outhouses that are it's just a pit. That's
Yeah,
just a pit in the ground, and just fucking like wooden toilet above it, and they're there for years. I mean, decades sometimes, and it's just a pit of shit. And who God knows what else is poured down there, and it never gets filtered. I mean, it's just there forever. And so you walk into this fucking kaibo in mid-July, and you open up the toilet seat. It's just a plastic thing. It's just got fucking carvings of just random slurs and shit on it, and just open it up, and there is just this plethora of flies that just start buzzing and just flying out of it. And so you have to take a shit because you've been holding it for 3 days. You sit on the kaibo and you feel these fat flies. I mean, they've just been eating shit their whole life. Just smacking your butt. Just flying up, just hitting it. I'm talking like they're walking. They're walking on your fucking butthole. They're just walking on it.
Dude, not only that, dude, they're walking on your taint, your ball sack, your thigh.
They're flying up too. So they're flying up out of it, and these things. I mean, they're just happy as shit. They've just been eating all fucking day.
No, dude.
And you smell this sharp. I mean, I'm talking sharp, ripe, toxic waste.
I can imagine.
And it is sweaty in there. It is hot. There's piss all over the floor, the wooden floor. There's shit smeared everywhere because it's never cleaned. And you're sitting on this thing and you are smelling. I mean, it smells like just the only word I can say, it's like a knife is being stabbed up your nose. You can almost smell the
it's
pain.
Probably it's your brain. It's your nose telling your brain like you need to get the fuck up out of here. Like just go. Why? It's like just go behind a fucking tree. What the fuck,
dude? You know what's even? This is something that is definitely happening down there. There are dead animals in there. I mean, there's probably dead skunks, dead squirrels, just dead shit, just rotting. I mean, it's just every single thing you could possibly imagine is dead. I mean, there probably is an alive beaver just caked up on there that could possibly walk up, just crawl up the kaibo and get on the ceiling and just fucking start walking on your ass. I mean, it's just the worst. This is the worst possible place to be. And yeah, that when I think of worst smells, I mean, I can almost imagine the smell right now. It's just so bad.
Yeah, that reminds me of porta potties, working construction and working on big sites, and they have to get the logistics of getting porta potties some places is absolute ridiculous. Like sometimes they have to hoist these things on cranes because if you're working at a big building, like sometimes in the contracts you have to have a porta potty in a certain distance of like working areas. So like if you're working on the 13th floor, you need a porta potty on the 13th floor. So like those never get fucking changed. So they never get changed out. They get forgotten sometimes because who wants to hoist her down a full fucking porta potty on a lift? No one does. No one wants to fucking do that. So they just get left here, bro. And I've seen one of these ancient porta potties, probably not cleaned for a month, and people aren't using it. And you just open it up, dude, and there's just fucking the shit is rising out of the toilet area seat. Is rising out. If you sat down, you would sit and shit. And it's just not good, man. I imagine it smells similar too.
Yeah, it's gotta be close. Yeah, I think there's something really distinct. It must have been the dead animals that have been chilling in there for a decade that it makes it just way worse.
God, what a way to decompose, man. Decomposing a shithole.
Dude. Okay, I'm sorry I have to say this. There was a story of a kid that found a kaibo. He found a kaibo. And they had to rescue him. They had to put a ladder down there and help him.
Oh no! Oh Oh, dude, that's scary. Oh, that's scary, bro.
It's pitch black in there, bro.
Oh,
Like, imagine,
dude, the bacteria, the kind of bacteria down there, bro. It's probably fucking terrible.
dude, you have to be rushed to a hospital. I mean,
Yes, you probably immediately have to be rushed to a hospital. Oh my god.
It was always just rumors. I mean, I never knew if it actually happened, but people would say, yeah, there was this one story of this kid that fell into the Kaibo. It was a scrawny little, like 11-year-old first scout camp ever, just fucking falls in. Oh my god.
Oh,
those things are deep. They're like 15 feet deep down there.
Oh, dude, you probably wouldn't go back to camp next year if that happened to you. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Oh
Man.
no.
So dark. That is dark.
Oh. I mean, I've heard of people, being in porta potties getting like tilted over and whatnot.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's dude, on construction sites, dude, it happens more than you think. One of my foremans, we had to move the porta potty so we could work in a specific area, and the superintendent of the job site was being a dick about it and not moving them. And my foreman has anger issues, like any 60-something-year-old foreman does that works construction. So he got in the dozer and just started moving the porta potties manually. And there was a person in there.
Oh no!
There was a person in there.
Oh god!
And we got sent home for the rest of the day.
Oh my god!
And we were not allowed back on that job site for a long time. He was banned. He was banned from the job site. Yeah, it could have gone very bad. Thankfully, we were doing good work for them, so they didn't completely fuck us. But if they wanted to, we could have gotten really fucked because he did several no-nos. He did several different no-nos that you're not supposed to do on a construction site. So, yeah, you got to be careful out there in a porta potty.
That is so scary. That would be just horrifying.
Imagine you're just sitting there taking a shit, and then all you hear is, oh
my god, you're already being lifted up.
Yeah.
Well, start shaking.
No, you would have just been shaking. He was just sliding it across the gravel. So yeah, it would have been. It was probably scary, but no, he wasn't being lifted or anything. He was just being pushed around. But hey, if it's a full porta potty, the splashback is not going to be good. Huh.
Whew, yeah, that's dreadful.
Thank you, Bean Dip. Thank you for that wonderful topic.
He's gonna love that.
Yeah. I think he definitely got his money's worth.
He definitely did. He shout out Bean Dip, by the way. He became a patron of the Sae Bae, so I appreciate him.
Bean Dip's cool.
Yeah, he is.
Love Bean Dip.
Uberu, this is kind of just going back to some normalcy, but Uberu asks, what's your most favorite and least favorite thing about editing?
Oh, okay. I would say my least favorite thing about editing is just the time sink into doing something. I want to. That's one thing I've been wanting to improve on. Is just like my speed of editing is trying to get faster. Because obviously, the faster I work, the better it can be. The faster it is, the more I can get paid, right? Because it's kind of like it's a gig economy. I can either charge hourly or I can just charge for a video. And if I could do a really good video and I could charge $150 to $300 and I can pump that out in 2 days, that's not bad, right? That's where I want to eventually get to. But I'd say that the time sink into editing a good video is my least favorite thing about editing, and my most favorite is just conveying an idea. I love an idea popping into my head of something for a video or a meme or a bit, and being like, oh, this would be funny. I wonder what I could make it look like, and if I can make it work. And then like sometimes bits that I think of go great, and I hit the nail on the head editing wise, and the bit's awesome, and I get the laughs. It's funny. And sometimes they're not as good. But I would say that's probably my favorite thing is having something just pop up in my head and like I formulate it and putting it to the test like in Adobe and making it and it being funny. It's always the most rewarding thing for me is I'm thinking, this would be funny, and then it is funny and I can make it funny. It's always good.
Now, I talked to Asterix a month ago, and he's obviously in kind of a similar vein as you, editing old school content. And he, was saying like he started streaming just recently as well. And he's been wanting to kind of make his own content. Have you ever considered making your own content?
Yeah, I've always just wanted to been a carbon copy of Nakey Jakey, just another white guy in a green screen. I've always wanted to do something like that. I've always wanted to be in content creation since high school. I feel like what I would do, I have no idea. To be fair, it probably wouldn't be anything old school related. It would probably be something maybe commentary wise or just documentaries. Just video documentaries. I feel like are really popular right now.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. And there's a lot of new people popping up and doing it really well. Other things I think that I would want to do is I really appreciate the journalism side of YouTube of like Channel 5 or Brandon
Yeah.
Buckingham, Andrew Callahan, Brandon Buckingham. I feel like what they do is really fucking cool. They go to really cool places and they meet really cool people and they do a really good job of conveying what they're there for. You meet between like gang members and then just like drug addicts and then just like really weird people at like furry festivals or when they went to the Juggalo festival. What's it called? Fucking.
I didn't watch it.
It's really good, man. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the Juggalo festival that they put on once a year. I forget what the actual term is, but like just I love people watching. I love looking at people and judging people. It's so much fun. I think, especially in how they act and how they dress. It's so much fun. I love doing it, and to see those types of videos and how they interact with so many different types of volatile people, it's really cool. And I think I could see myself doing something like that.
That's fucking. I mean, dude, there's like you said, there's so much out there. There's so much creative freedom you're allowed. I mean, you could just come up with a brand new idea as well. I mean, there's just so much to come out with, and the fact that you're able to get all this experience editing for other people, I feel like at some point I would personally love to see you start making some content. I think it'd be fucking great.
Yeah, it's definitely in the works, and the way that my life is going right now, I think there's a big chance of that coming out soon with the way my life is going right now.
That's yeah. No,
I feel like I'm about to find myself with a lot of free time. So, yeah.
well, I would be excited to see it personally. So,
Thank you.
SaintTits, we are gonna wrap things up with a few shout outs. This has been honestly fucking awesome talking to you.
Yeah.
It's just been great, and it's cool. It's always cool hearing like the kind of inside scoops on what's happening behind the scenes, especially with the content I love. I mean, I talked to Asterix. He hosts the Behemoth. You host ToB Tuesdays. I watch both of them. And it's just cool, and just keep doing what you're doing. And I want to give you a shout out before I'll allow you the microphone. Just, you are genuinely a wholesome fucking legend. Whenever I come see you, and it's been 3 times now, like we said in the beginning, it's just good to be around you. You're so goddamn chill, and
Thank you.
You just make things happen. I was talking. This must have been, I'm trying to think. Maybe it was during the Based Orlando podcast or something. I'm just saying, like, the fact that you are willing to just get things done and work, and you bring equipment there. You're willing to set up these podcasts at events.
Yeah.
That would be something I would hate to do. That just sounds dreadful for me to have to bring equipment and set up all these things. But you just do it gracefully, and you're very like just focused on providing good content and helping out the homies and just getting involved. And I just really appreciate your vibe all the time. So keep doing what you're doing, dude. Shout out to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that really means a lot to me. What I do is I want to come across very genuine, and I will work with anybody that wants to do anything if I think it's a good idea. I want to do good content. I want to do cool things. I want to do dope shit with dope people, and right now I'm able to do dope shit with dope people, and it's kind of surreal to me. and it would just be a disservice to not be nice to everyone, to not be nice to people, to not appreciate what I have, because there are plenty of people that had the opportunity to do this and they did not give a damn about it, and that's just not who I am. I'm gonna give a damn about it. I like to do this. I've found myself in quite an odd position in my life and in my career, if you would call that a career. If you had told me 2 years ago where I'd be right now, I would laugh in your face and say that you're ridiculous. But being here right now is just, it's an honor and it's a pleasure. And to anyone who's ever liked anything I've ever done, thank you. It really means a lot. And I don't care if it's one person. I don't care if it's 10 people. I don't care if it's 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. I want to do the best job that I can do. And I'm going to always hold that standard.
Hell yeah. All right, SaintTits, 3 shout outs.
Oh, okay. 3 shout outs. Shout out base team. First and foremost, everyone in base, podcast related, streaming wise. Shout out base. Shout out the IRL homies. Shout out Joey. Shout out Drew. Shout out Tyler. Shout out Connor. Shout out Stokes. Shout out Kobe. Shout out Chandler. I'm trying to remember everybody. Shout out Zach. Shout out Zach. Those are the IRL homies, and shout out my parents because I'd be nowhere without them.
Hell yeah. That was perfect. SaintTits, I would love to do a round 2 with you in the future if you're down.
Yes, sir. Whenever you want me on, bro, I'll come screaming.
Hell yeah. Okay, there's also a little surprise coming on my Twitter, so guys, go follow me down on Twitter, and while you're at it, I'll have SaintTits links as well, your Twitter. Do you have any other links you'd want provided down there?
No, just my Twitter. My Twitter's fine.
We'll have ToB Tuesday down there as well, so you guys can check it out.
Yeah.
Check out the Alfie episode, 100%, and I'll also have Base After Dark linked down there as well if you guys want to listen to that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I would link, just the Base After Dark and ToB Tuesday, my Twitter. That's all fine.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you all for listening. We will catch you in the next one, which will be Saturday with, well, at least I'll be recording Saturday, might be out on Sunday, with Reed, formerly known as Zach Badass. We'll be talking about the good old days, OSR's PVM in the early days, as well as just a bunch of IRL topics, I'd imagine. So I'm looking forward to that. SaintTits, thank you for your time today. Absolute pleasure. And guys, we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.